Welcome into the YWCA hour here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I am not your normal producer. I am Rico, joined here by Karen Bell Dancy. Karen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Rico.
This is your first time pre-recording, and I want to remind everybody this is a pre-recording. So if you do send any texts or calls in, we won't be reading them because we are not currently here. We are pre-recording this on a Friday, a beautiful Friday, if I might add. And again, this is my first time doing this. So, hi, Karen.
Hello.
This is I think this is like my second or third time meeting you, but
Yes,
this will be our first time doing a show together.
that's right.
So this is going to be fun. This is going to be great.
Good, good.
And we were talking obviously before the show, getting ready for what we were going to discuss, and something that you did mention that does, sit heavy on with me, especially being a first time school parent with my child going to kindergarten this year, is some of the things going on around our country, and something that just happened earlier this week, and that is the safety of children in schools with firearms and the likes.
Oh my goodness, yes, it is. It's a very prevalent issue, and sometimes it's one we know it's out there, but we don't readily identify with it, and we don't keep that in the forefront of what we should consider as we send our children to school. We think sending children to school once they're inside the building that they're really safe, and we're relying on the school, the aesthetic of the school, as well as the structure and the daily schedule to keep them safe. And that's not always the case. And it's not just the gun violence that we are really concerned with, but it's also cybersecurity. There's a lot of issues that are prevalent within the cyber world, we know, and it does seep into the school setting. And it surprisingly, in surprisingly numbers, it does affect our children as well.
So the cybersecurity side of it, before we get into any of the type of gun violence, the cybersecurity part of it is something that I didn't think about all of that much until my daughter got into school, and her first week, she's telling me, "Dad, I need headphones." And I was like, "Why do you need headphones?" She's like, "Well, we have
Yes,
our computers. They're working with Chromebooks in kindergarten."
that's
And
right.
I had no idea that they would start doing that so early.
Yes, they do. Headphones are part of the school supply list. You know, it used to be pencils and erasers and protractors. Now it's headphones, and that's because the devices are so much of the critical supplies that students need to have. And so we have to understand that there can be immediate breaches in the security when our children are on these different devices. And that's why we as parents and as the general supportive community, we have to really make ourselves familiar with those threats.
It's crazy to think about because, right now they're working with Chromebooks in kindergarten, working on their
Yes,
typing while they're working on, learning how to read and how to draw shapes and how to
that's right.
make circles and things like that. And as they grow up and as they continue to mature and go to higher grade levels, they'll be working with computers more and more because that's just kind of what our world has turned into.
It has. And we think that when we have smaller children like yours, you know, early elementary, that they're safe and they're tucked away. That's not always the case. And just think about how many devices does your daughter have?
Right now, we're not a fun household. We don't
Okay.
have we don't have iPads, and she won't get a phone for a very long time. The only iPad that they use is the iPad in the car for long drives to watch movies. Other than that,
Right.
we are a no electronics household.
That's good. However, like you said, the Chromebook is being issued at these very early ages. And because of that, there's all kinds of apps that can come up that she may not know, of course,
Hmm.
and you don't know, and you're not aware of how those are could be affecting her learning and also just her whole socialization in general. And so I admire my daughter. I have two grandchildren. My grandson, he's a freshman in high school,
Hmm.
but my granddaughter, she's in third grade. And she has more knowledge and more capability with the devices than I do. But her mother really monitors that. And she was just sharing with me this week that before her daughter can play any games, which these are all games that mom has approved of,
Hmm.
and she she has, when she gets on, it actually tells her, a timer pops up and says you have to start your 15-minute reading. So she cannot play any game, can't access anything else,
Hmm.
because she has to do that 15 minutes worth of reading. So there are good things
Oh,
about children being able to use these devices at such a young age, and we have to be realistic. They are really exposed to this. And
early.
so, whereas back in my day, and perhaps even in your
A little
generation,
bit, yeah.
Rico, we still had the big, heavy textbooks. And, we went in, we may have gone in labs when they first had labs,
Hmm.
and those kinds of first learning tools that were virtual. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego, and
Yep.
all those were the kinds of things that were out when my daughters were in school. They have really changed, but some of them are really great. They do inspire the learning, they really inspire the creativity. But again, we as the parents need to understand the parameters around it, and then also what is being asked of the child to experience.
When I
So I don't denounce the devices and the online kind of software, the virtual learning. We just have to be really vigilant about the monitoring of it.
What are some tips that you would give for parents who are kind of going through this for the first time? I mean, it's something that I know I'll have to deal with as she gets older and as, her friends have iPads and cell phones and laptops and she'll be
Yes.
asking for. What are some tips that you would give to some parents that might be going through that right now or might have to go through that here soon?
Understand what they're being asked to do online, understand the accesses that they have. Now they all have virtual accounts as a student through their student ID.
Hmm.
You, as the parent, you should have all of the same access that your child has. And work with your school. There's a technology team at your individual school, there's district wide technology, but also just by we know by googling we can find everything. We have to filter through the information that we find and try to understand if what we're learning is credible.
Hmm.
But go out there and really find that kind of information. And again, I just look at my grandchildren. I credit my daughter for being the vigilant parent. Now she is also a special education teacher, so she sees it from both angles. But she has an app with my grandson, and it tells her Zion is on the move. And it actually shows a little guy trotting from class to class. When he's
Oh.
going from class to class, it will say he's arrived at the library 3:10 p.m. Or it shows a little kid kicking soccer when he's at soccer practice.
Hmm.
And when he moves, it's a little bark. And I think the app is called ARF, or I can't remember the name of it, but
Okay.
I mean, it's a real popular one. And then when he purchases something with his little Cash App card,
Hmm.
it dings her and says, Zion just charged 39 cents. And she said, what are you charging
What do
39 cents?
you?
But it was something on the app.
Okay.
And so I'm just using that as a prime example as a parent with children in these two critical areas, her third grader and then her ninth grader. It's different guides that
Hmm.
she used for each one, but still those same vigilant measures as a parent. Just like when your mom used to say, call me as soon as you get home. And
Yep.
3:05, you would call mom at work, you home? Yes. Do your homework? Yes. Wash the dishes? Yes. Also those kinds of things. Now, a lot of times that's done through text messaging.
Hmm.
So I say these devices and these different apps, they're not going away, but you as the parent need to be one step further than what your child is, so that you're helping to usher their learning and you're helping to usher their safety, and you're knowing who they are in contact with.
Yes, it's all of the technology is both a curse and a blessing, where
Exactly.
you have more connection and more communication with your children, and there's a way to know where they are at all times. But at the same
Mhm.
time, like you were talking about cybersecurity, there are people who will be able to hack into some of those things and figure out also those same things, those conversations, and potentially where your children are. And that's a big part of the cybersecurity in the schools and
Yes.
teaching your children how to be vigilant in what the things that they're clicking on or the things that they're looking at, because there are ways for people to, as soon as the kids get old enough and they start having emails,
Yes.
or they do have their own phones, if they, malware, and if they click on the wrong things,
Right.
and that's a part of it, like you just mentioned, being able to kind of know more, or be a little bit ahead of your children in terms of technology, so that you can show them or tell them, hey, these are the things you have to look out for.
Exactly. And I truly believe, and I know I'll be called old school with this one, but your child should not have a passcode or password to anything that you don't have and that you don't monitor. You have to monitor. They're a minor, and so you could be deemed negligent if you are not properly monitoring these kinds of activities, and then something nefarious happen.
Hmm.
And we don't want that to happen. We see that that's happening a lot, but you can prevent that as a parent just by parenting. And I've always heard that parent is not just a noun, parent is a verb. You have to actually parent. And
Hmm.
so to parent, that's knowing who they're connecting with. Are they in chat rooms? Who are they chatting with? What is this group about if they become part of a group?
Hmm.
And look at all the different kinds of ways that they could be connected. With IG, there's some things that could be there, then they go away, but your child has been exposed to that. You have TikTok. Who are they following?
Hmm.
Take a look at that. Go through all of that.
What
I
are the
think
videos that they're liking? Because then that'll
exactly,
set the algorithm for what is going to pop up on their
exact.
page.
That's right. That's right. And so if you are not aware and understand that process as a parent, then your child gets sucked into something that they're not really prepared for.
Hmm. How did you? I know that you were saying that your kids were going through kind of that introduction to the computers and all of that, when they were at a younger age. How did you have to deal with the cyberbullying side of things?
I did because my girls, as they were going through middle school and then early high school, that's when we were really getting all these different social sites.
Mhm.
And so, where they could gather friends and they can meet different people. And as you say, they could start liking people. People were building profiles. And I had to make them aware that there is a thing called a catfish,
Mhm.
and so that's right when the advent of all of that, because now there was the ability to connect not only with people within your own school, within your own neighborhood or church. This is worldwide.
Yeah.
And we know that a lot of the threats come from around the world. And so I had to make them aware of, be careful about who you do allow to connect with you, and about making your stuff private. Don't have everything public for everyone that's out there. And by the time my girls were middle school and high school, they're 2.5 years apart. I was now divorced mom, so I had to be extra careful. I felt, because I had daughters.
Mhm.
And so I had to really talk with them about that because it was new and it was exciting. And so as they started to get to the ages to now where they could have a cell
Yeah.
phone, then I had to monitor those things as well. And one of the things that I learned, and this is a piece that I learned from my own daughter, was that she started making my grandson, he has to turn his phone in at a certain time of the evening. And she actually
Oh,
got that from a rapper from Trick Daddy.
really?
who's- she saw it on a show where he said, "Who are they talking to 8, 9 o'clock at night? They need to be talking to me." He said,
Yeah,
"Then they're going to bed." And she said, "That is one of the best pieces of advice I have."
that makes
So
sense.
it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So he has to turn it in. And if he goes to try to pick it up, it bings on the app that she has,
Yep.
and she knows that he's getting ready to try to make a call, and she can see who he's calling, and typically it's his grandmother.
Mhm.
Now, a high school young man does not want anyone to know he's calling his grandmother, but yeah, I'm an accepted contact that he
Oh,
has.
yeah, no, that works out perfect. You're
Yeah,
the only you and mom are the only ones.
exactly. And his auntie, his auntie
Exactly. No, that
Lauren.
makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So we've covered the cybersecurity side of things. Now let's go over
Yes.
to kind of more sensitive topic in terms of
Yes.
school safety, and that is the threat of violence in schools, and something that just happened earlier this week in I
Yes.
was it Tennessee,
Georgia.
Georgia,
Yes.
with another school shooting, which has become way too prevalent in these times. What are your thoughts on what has been going on?
Oh, it's so heartbreaking. And, you know, it's something that we've been dealing with for decades. And we always say, and I even heard a witness say this about the school shooting in Georgia the other day. This just doesn't happen in Barrow County. Well, it does, unfortunately.
It's
And
unfortunate that you hear that every time it happens somewhere. This type of
exactly.
thing doesn't happen in X city or X county or
That's
X
right.
place.
Yeah, yeah. And you can't keep moving. You can't keep moving your families to try to find this safe, hollowed spot where these kinds of threats will not occur, because we don't know what's happening in everyone's home. We don't know what's happening in their mind. You know, this was a very young man
Mhm,
that committed this crime, or, you know, allegedly he's been charged with it. Now his dad has been charged with it. I am actually approve that the parents are now being held accountable for these kinds of actions.
mhm,
Same thing happened with the case in Michigan a few years ago. Those parents ended up being charged. When you, as a parent, I believe, are allowing your children access to these kinds of arms and even giving them as a gift.
mhm,
And I understand that's one of the reasons why this dad in this incident has been charged, because he gave that AR-15 to his son as a gift. A young person at that age, whose brain is still developing, who does not have the critical thinking skills, the
mhm,
analytical skills, does not know how to only properly handle that kind of machinery,
mhm.
but then also to make the decision not to harm anyone. And it's fortunate that no more were actually harmed, but it's so unfortunate those that have been impaired and those that actually lost their lives.
Mhm.
And we have the balance of that whole school and community. They will have the effects of these actions forever.
Mhm, mhm. It's been everything for them has been thrown off kilter, and
It
they're going to have
has.
to deal with that for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. And so I didn't know that parents were going to be or have been um charged with those as well, with
Yes.
something that happens with those kids. And that kind of some of that
Yes.
goes back to what we were talking about, the cybersecurity and the cyberbullying.
Right.
Is some of these kids that have unfortunately committed these atrocities have been online, and maybe their parents haven't seen some of the things that they've been looking at, some of
Right.
the videos they've seen, some of the people that they talk to, some of the things that people say to them. And
Hmm.
that unfortunately sometimes is what pushes some of these people to do some of these terrible things. So it's kind of both of those things sort of go hand in hand.
They do. I worked 5 years at one of the LPS middle schools. And so I was director of the after school programs. And we know that that critical time period of the day for a student, that 3 to 5, where so many of them, especially in the middle school age, they're left unattended.
Hmm.
They're not in a structured setting that helps to usher their learning and help to offer protection. But even within that, we had clubs when I first started the program, um, and they would try to get on, because one of the within our STEM academy, one of the programs that we had was a club where they did online gaming. And so they would try to get into Grand Theft Auto and do some of the other games
Hmm.
that did real malicious things to the different players. And one of the things I think we really need to start to understand, Rico, is that gaming allows a young person to largely be in a virtual world, and they can be completely anonymous, or they could create a profile that is not who they really are, and or do they really know who they're engaging with.
Hmm.
And so not only is a lot of violence occurring within a lot of these different games, but then also you do have predators that they believe that their function in life is to sit there and to pose threats to young people because they're trying to induce them to do something that is against the parent will.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes, the threats come in so many different forms and so many different ways at our children. And so we see a lot of the automatic rifles and all those kinds of things where they look glorified.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that does spill over into the reality for some of these young people. And some parents think that it's okay. Well, I took my child to learn how to shoot, or I took them to the gun range so
Mm-hmm.
they can appreciate the gun and all of that. If you look at some of these cases where students have brought guns into the school and maybe even utilized that weapon, they were some of the same ones whose parents actually took them to the gun range and or gave them the gun as a gift.
Now I am a big gamer, right? So that's
Okay.
that's something that I like to do. Yeah, go on these games and just play them and have fun. And I use it to de-stress sometimes. And
Yes.
but I completely agree with you. There are people who sit on there and they prey on these younger kids who play these games. And to me, that is part of the parents' role and responsibility is to make sure that if your kid is not old enough, or you don't think that your kid is old enough to play these games, to interact in these games, that you shouldn't be letting them play that. And also, there are certain ones where maybe you don't let your kid have a microphone. Don't let your kid talk to these people. Don't
Yes.
let your kid, put the messages on private. You need to be, if your kid wants
Right.
to play, if you're a gaming parent as well, and you like to play, Call of Duty, and your kid likes to watch you
Yes.
play, if you want your kid to play that, or if your kid wants to play that, you need to be there with them the entire time. You need to be there with them, and you need to remind them, hey, this is just a game. This is not
Right.
real life. This is just something that happens on this game. This is not something that we are, bringing into real life.
Yes, yes. And then a lot of those little small things that really seem, really innocent. Hey, can you just meet me over here in the chat room real quick? Let's come out of the game where we're
Hmm.
playing against all these different
And let's
people
just
and just
talk.
you and I talk.
Nah.
Yeah, yeah. I want to get to know you, talk. Hey, send me a picture of yourself.
Hmm.
And then that slowly builds into something else.
Hmm.
And so to help your kid, I think it's not just about, well, we're going to shut that down or just say to your kid, well, you can't do that. That's not enough.
No.
We need to really start that early education because, again, just like your daughter in kindergarten is getting a Chromebook,
Yeah, it's crazy.
we, yes, we have to be at the forefront of helping her to understand how these different threats can come into her world and her
Hmm.
existence. And they do, and they look real simple,
It's not, it's nothing, it's not, the crazy, it doesn't start off
Yes.
with, hey, let's meet at Walmart, let's do
Right.
this, let me, tell me where you go to school. It's simple. It's like, hey, you like to play this game, I like to play this game, let's
Right.
play this. And then they just keep talking and talking, and then, like you said, it's, oh, can you send me a picture of yourself? Oh, how old are you? What do you like to do here? Do you like
Exactly.
this type of animal? And it just goes and it just builds from there,
And
and
it
that's where
builds.
the problems come.
Exactly. It builds. Small things like, well, I have to log off at 9 o'clock. Oh man, your mom, she's no fun. She's no
Mhm.
good,
You don't have
Well,
to, you can stay on here with me, and we'll do, yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can start that simple. And so we, again with the schools have their safety measures, their safety programs, but we as parents, we cannot rely on that being the sum of the protection for our own children.
And I mean, all of these things are things that obviously growing up I thought about, being in school, and then as I got older, thinking about, oh, well, when I have kids, this and that. And you always want to think to yourself before you have kids, oh, when I have kids,
Right.
this is not happening, and this is not happening, and we're going to do
Yeah,
this and we're going to do that. And then you have kids, and a lot of that sometimes just goes out the window. And
exactly.
then your kids get old enough to go to school, and I don't know how many other parents felt the way that I felt, but I was terrified, not only because, my baby girl's growing up, but at the
Right.
same time, I have to send her to school. Like, I have to send her away from, a daycare center where I talk to
Right.
all of the people who are there, and I know them on it to a certain degree. Now I have to send them to school, and they're going to be surrounded
Mhm.
by all of these new people, and it's a
That's
very big
right.
building, and it's open, and it's it's a very scary feeling
Yes.
to send your kid away to school for the very first time. I don't know how many other first time parents felt the same way that I did, but I don't know how to combat that, or even any advice that I would give a first time parent, aside from, like, it's you're going to send them away, but they're going to be fine. As long as you taught them everything that you think they should know, they're going to be fine.
Right, right. My mom used to have this saying when I went away to college, and I would call her for advice, and she would say, "I taught you right from wrong when you were little." That was one of her favorite sayings. And then I ended up using that with my daughters as well. And so you have to have confidence in what you have taught them, and that they will be mindful of that. And, even as a young person, I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, and I went away to college in Atlanta, Georgia. What a very scary proposition. And I'm the youngest of 6. I'm daddy's little baby girl. And he did not want me to go to Atlanta. He was very afraid of that. But mom, really wanted me to go away there, and to attend an HBCU. But I knew the values of what I received from home, and she's right. I knew right from wrong, so I knew how I needed to manage myself. And then I went to a school that told me, we're urban school, we're in an urban setting. But here are the threats to you. They told us that our very first week of school. And so that way we already knew how to anticipate and how to measure ourselves and how to conduct ourselves. And I think that's the same kind of proposition that we need to have as we work with our child through all of their development years. We just stick in there. And if you stick in there, I think you'll be okay.
There are 2 things that I do with my kids before I drop them off at daycare, and then they go to, and then my oldest goes to school and my youngest stays at daycare. There's 2 things, and I tell them this. So what are the 3 things we always say? Listen, follow directions, be nice. Right. Those are our 3 things. And then we do this thing where we look at each other and I have them repeat to me, I am smart, I am strong, I am, beautiful for my daughter, handsome for my son. I am nice. And we do that. We do those 2 things every day before I drop them off. And I hope that it sticks with them. And now I can just say, okay, what are the 3 things? And then they'll repeat to me, listen, follow directions, be nice. And they repeat that to me. And I feel like it's getting to them.
Oh, it will. And when they grow up, Rico, they'll say, this is what dad used to do with us every morning. And then as they grow up, that daily affirmation, it will evolve into something else, but it will still be rooted in that principle of what you gave them back when they were so young. So that's what I mean. And that's what I understand as a parent. I did those kinds of things with my girls. And now I get to see it again because my daughter is doing the same thing with her children too.
Beautiful. That's amazing. Love to see it.
Yeah.
That's it for the first segment here. We will be right back with the YWCA hour right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's the greatest time of the year again. Kickoff is here and football is officially back. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and this year you can too. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code EARLY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code EARLY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
Welcome back to the YWCA hour here on 93.7 The Ticket. I am Rico, joined by Karen Bell Dancy, one of the co-hosts of the YWCA hour here on The Ticket. And Karen, we were just talking in the break about women in sports, and I mentioned how, you know, I cover a lot of the women's sports here at The Ticket, and one that has really kind of, well, has always been a favorite of my wife's and has kind of taken over our household has been Nebraska women's volleyball. Yes. And for one reason in particular is Rebecca Alec, who is my daughter's favorite player. And anytime we mention the name Rebecca, she's just like, "Oh, you mean Alec? Are you going to talk to her? Can she babysit?" Like she thinks we're best friends, and it's hilarious to me. But another big reason for her loving Rebecca is because she wears her natural hair on the court. And my daughter has the same curly hair that she does. And it's empowering for me that she has a role model like that who isn't afraid to be herself and have her hair the way that it is. Because now my daughter, there was a time when, you know, a lot of her friends have straight hair. Yeah. And she was wondering why she had curly hair and she wanted straight hair. But now she sees, you know, Alec on the court and she loves her curly hair. She loves wearing her hair in poofs and like teddy bear poofs, or wearing it down and just having it curly. And that is just, it just fills my heart with joy to see her love her natural hair like that.
Because it's not just about loving the natural hair, but it's loving and embracing who you are. And that's why it means so much to see women that we idolize in, or a near peer role model for herself, someone that is just being her natural self. And she's not letting what society deems to be beautiful to decide on who she is and how she fits in. And it definitely has no implication on her athletic ability or her scholastic talent. And that's why I am glad that she has recognized, here's someone that looks like me, has hair like me, and yet she can still excel and be herself. And I'm so happy for you as a parent, you and your wife, that you are embracing that and supporting that.
It was one of the things where my daughter is of mixed race as well, just like Rebecca Alec is. And it was one of those things where it's, I wasn't sure how to go about it, because early on she was asking questions like, Dad, why are you so dark? And why is mommy, she would say, why are you brown? And why is mommy pink? And that's how she would say it. And I was like, well, and she's like, well, what am I? And I go, you're both. You're both, and in the summer she gets a little bit darker. And I'm just like, look, you're getting closer. That's what we're, and it's just so empowering to see, again, somebody else of mixed race be able to go out there and be such a great role model. And those are like the hard conversations that I wasn't even thinking about until we had our daughter. And then I was like, okay, how am I going to go about this? And I was like, oh, no, I have time. She's 2 years old and she's asking me those questions. Now she's 5, but at 2 years old, she's asking me those questions. So I'm like, okay, how do I go about this? And it's just so hard for me to kind of explain, but I think I've gotten a little bit better at it.
And the Lincoln Vital Signs just released their race ethnicity report. And within that report, one of the fastest growing demographics here in our community is biracial. And so we have to, even though society still does not really understand what that actually means, because society wants to put us in neat little boxes, and we don't all fit in neat little boxes. And as we see like that number increasing of those that identify with more than one race, we need to understand what comes with that. And you're right, as most parents, you're just welcoming your beautiful newborn into your life and saying, I'll protect them and whatever. But we do have the influences of others that help to form their whole socialization process and how they identify. As long as you and your wife are on the same page in helping her to understand her identity, I think she'll be okay. And keep showing those different role models, those different influencers in her life, or folks that look like her. Help her to understand the culture of you and your wife, how you were both socialized. Who are the critical people that are in your family? What is the lineage of your family? And express to her the joys of those that come from your family, but also some of the challenges of those. So the more she understands her background, that's what really helps to form her identity and who she is. And I love the fact of putting those pictures of positive role models out. When my daughters were young and I was a divorced mom, almost every piece of artwork in my house, still is today, were Black women. And Black women with all different kinds of hair, Black women from different walks of life and all of that. But I wanted them to always see that positive imagery. I wanted them to understand what it meant to be a Black woman in America and what it meant to be a young Black girl in a setting largely for most of their education where it wasn't that many that looked like them, but still being happy and positive about your identity and your Blackness. And so I think as when you look at her school setting, who she's around, are there any influencers in her daily walk that help her to see, oh yeah, that's what I can be, or she's beautiful and I am beautiful too. So just to keep reaffirming that, I think is very evident and very obvious that it really helps her to shape who she'll become. And, we put so much emphasis on the hair thing. Think about Simone Biles. Who ever is a more talented gymnast than Simone Biles?
Exactly.
But yet she was ridiculed because of her hair. The last thing that we should talk about her when she is 5 feet perpendicular to a high beam is her hair.
Exactly.
Is her hair. And yet we break it down to all of that. And, we've been socialized as women so much that it's about how we look and how we present ourselves, that's the sum of how we will be judged. And it should not be like that.
It's almost, well, not almost, it has gotten to a ridiculous point where you have women athletes or actresses or any type of woman in power somewhere that kind of gets reduced to how they look. So regardless of you'll have women in the WNBA who
Right.
put up amazing statistics, amazing numbers, or doing all these amazing things, but the only thing that you see in the comments is, oh well, she doesn't look like so and so, or she
Exactly.
looks like this, and
Right.
that I could never, blah blah blah, all of these things. And it's gotten ridiculous where you can't appreciate somebody for what they are accomplishing, but
Yes.
only how they look.
Exactly. Yeah. And we as women, we're the ones that need to change the narrative. A lot of it is we think the focus is on what men say and all of that, but it
Mhm.
comes the power comes from within us. And it comes from within. We're real smart girls, and how we've been treated and what we've been told is the images of beauty, or what we can accomplish, or what we can succeed. And so when we empower our young girls to just be who they are, be authentic. And I know it sounds like so much that I'm saying that to a young child, but
Mhm.
it is exactly that. And just be okay with who you are. And if you're going to excel in sports, you're going to excel in the arts, or what science, what have you, it should have no bearing on how you look or
Mhm.
how you present yourself. And that's why I said it really is up to us as women to keep redefining that narrative around us. And we saw a big example of this even in politics. Not too long ago, where one senator says to the other senator, "Oh, are you really thinking? I think your eyelashes got in your way." A woman
Yep.
we should never say that to each other, and trying to demean and trying to defame her. And we know the clapback that she got.
Ooh, yeah,
she'll she
that was something.
yeah, yeah, March, she'll never make that mistake again in saying that. But that's just a glaring example of how we have allowed society to pit us against each other as women. And it used to be women in athletics. We've kept the sport so I want to say polarized between men's sports and women's sports.
Mhm.
And we thought women had to be a certain way if they were going to engage in sports. And that's not the case. And now we're seeing that a woman can say, "Oh, yeah, I want to do my hair a certain way. I want to dress a certain way. I want to get my nails done," and all of that. When
Mhm.
you think back decades ago, when Flojo
Yep.
was the mighty force in women's track. She was one that said, "Oh, I like doing my nails. And just because I have long nails don't mean I can't run, because
Mhm.
I'm going to show you I am the fastest woman out there." And it really is about my athletic ability. And when I get out there on that track, it's not about how I look.
It's not about how I look. It's not about what I wear. It's about
Exactly.
my athletic ability and what I'm able to do. And now again, like you were saying, you're seeing that a lot more in these sporting worlds. I mean, Sha'Carri Richardson with her long nails, and
Yes.
changing from wearing wearing wigs, and now she's just
Yes.
going with her natural hair,
Right.
wearing it in braids or just natural, however she wants to wear it. And it's just like, I don't care what you think of
Hmm.
how I look, but it's just how I perform. I mean,
Yes.
she's an Olympic gold, or she's a world champion, an Olympic silver medalist,
Right.
all of these things. It's about
Yes.
her performance, not about how she looks.
Yes. She won gold as well.
Yes, yeah,
So
she is a beast.
she
She's
is.
amazing. A big. I used to run track. I'm a big fan of track, so I love
Okay,
watched
I am
every
too.
single second of that. Oh, I had something, and now I completely lost it. Um, oh, going on continuing on that, I was going to talk about um women, in sports, kind of dressing how they want. That's a big
Yes.
focus on it as well, where you don't have, it's not just, again, specifically with the WNBA, it's not just the baggy clothes, and it's
Right.
not the
Yeah.
long pants and the hoodies and the big t-shirts and everything. Now you have women who are deciding, you know what, if I want to wear a
Yes.
dress, a tight fitting dress, or if I want to wear something else, if I want to wear, a men's basketball jersey to the arena and all of these things, shorter shorts, longer shorts, however they want to wear it. And it's something that you saw in the men's game that was never criticized at all,
Right.
and now it's going to the women's game. And there are still, obviously there are still some people who have things to say about it,
Yes.
but it's good to see that they don't mind, that the women don't mind, like, I'm going to wear what I want. If you want to say something, you can,
Right.
but I'm still here doing what I want.
and I'm going to leave it on the court.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to leave it on the field.
Mhm.
And we have been subjected, we know over hundreds of years as women, to a double standard of how we dressed and how we presented ourselves, how our hair was our hair to be covered or what have you. And all of these norms, what were norms and values, they were all rooted in what a man felt,
Mhm.
and then was imposed upon us as women. And now women are saying, we went through the feminist movement, which has such a negative connotation. Now we have protection under Title IX that says we should have the same ability to play in the various different sports, and we should play and be engaged in these kinds of activities without harassment.
Mhm.
And so with that, it makes us even stronger. But I do believe, as a woman, we do have the responsibility to continue to create that narrative around who we are and why we fight against all of these negative influencers that would say, oh, you can't be this or you can't be that,
Mhm.
because we know that that was rooted in a male perspective.
And part of creating that narrative and helping build the narrative against some of those perspectives is, attending, watching, being a part of these events, is
Yes.
going to the sporting events, or watching them on television or on whatever streaming services they are, to then build the audience, grow the audience, to show people that this is supported. This is something that people want to watch and engage in. It's
Yes.
not just something for the super fan of this, but you can get more fans, you can get more people
Right.
engaged in this. And I think that women's sports has taken a huge step forward in the last few years,
True. Yes.
with everything that's been going on, whether it be volleyball and volleyball day in Nebraska here at
Right.
Memorial Stadium, or
Yes.
what Caitlin Clark has been able to do in growing the audience for the WNBA, or Asia Wilson with the Las Vegas Aces and doing what she's able to do and putting up those monster numbers, and again growing the audience for the league, and having
Yes.
these numbers to put forward to show people like, hey, we're not here just for you to oogle at. We're not just pretty faces
Right.
for you to look at. We're here to do the darn thing,
Right.
and get the ball in the basket, get the ball over the net, and do all of these, every other sport that's going on.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, it's been throughout the years that women's sports were deemed less popular than men's sports. And, it was all rooted in a financial,
Mhm.
Perspective. The ticket sales weren't there, and or the tickets prices were different. And we see that total imbalance with women's salaries of professional sports than you do with men. There's no way that a professional in the WNBA that's putting up the same kind of stats as someone in the NBA should not have an equal type of salary or
They shouldn't have to.
opportunities.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to work a job outside of the season just to make ends meet.
Exactly. And we still see that imbalance in there. And that's just, that's just one of those isms of what we've been propelling throughout the decades
Mhm.
of gender. That's a whole gender imbalance, and we need to overcome that. And like I said, the more we have women engaged in higher levels in sports, we have some women that are in the front office of sports. We're starting to see more women getting coaching opportunities,
Mhm.
which they should. Women, and believe it or not, when you look at some of the number one athletes in the world, their team is comprised of women.
Yep.
Look at Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
And so that goes to show you that mind power of the woman. And, his whole team, I think he has a team of like 5, and they're all women, and he's got the biggest contract there is. So when we embrace that and we really push that and we really expose that as women, then we continue to gain more acceptance and we continue to make more leaps and bounds. But I will say, and this is, my personal opinion, we've got to put more pressure on the owners of these teams, of these professional teams that are still rooted in that narrative of, older men.
Mhm.
They have all the power because they had the money. So they had the balance of the power, and they get to say who, what, when, and where, and how. That if we can put that pressure on them, then we can really start to change what all of this looks like across the landscape of sports.
Just like in the men's sports where they put the pressure on the owners and things changed,
Yes.
it might take, a few more years, but at least getting the ball rolling in the right direction, which I believe that it is. I hope that it is
Yes.
at least rolling in the right direction, is something that that can go a long way for all of these women's sports and empowering all these women. And like you were saying, having them in positions of power in other
Yes.
places, like having assistant coaches on NFL teams who are women, having assistant coaches.
Right.
I mean, Becky Hammond, who's the head coach for the Aces, was an assistant coach for the Spurs for the longest time and was
Right.
looked at as potentially taking over when Greg Popovich retired. And now,
Right.
she's back-to-back champion
Right.
in the WNBA. And again, with all of the other, I think the Jets have a woman
Yes.
assistant coach, the
Mhm.
Eagles, the 49ers. There are multiple NFL teams and a few NBA teams, and some MLB teams. I know that the New York Yankees had, I think she was a Nebraska native actually, who was the skipper for the AAA or the AA team. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
a massive move forward in
Mhm.
that aspect of things as well.
Right. Yes.
So that's something to look forward to. And then I just have one more thing to say about my daughter watching all of these women play these sports. Is the one thing that she's been asking me that I still have no idea where I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it. She keeps asking for like the big braids. And I'm just like, I don't know where to take you. And you are very tender-headed, and you are not going to sit still for that.
Guess what, Rico? I have some recommendations.
Okay, I will take those recommendations from you after the show. We'll be right back. The YWCA Hour, right here on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the greatest time of the year again. Kickoff is here and football is officially back. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and this year you can too. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code EARLY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code EARLY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Welcome back. Final segment here on the YWCA Hour here on The Ticket. Rico, Karen Bell Dancy here to bring you through this final segment. And we're going to get into a little bit of parenting. Maybe not so, I don't know about parenting tips, but some parenting things, sentences, and words that we'll go and we'll try to share with you. Because again, in the break, we were discussing this, and I was talking about before me and my wife had our kids, we would say, okay, they're not going to have tablets. They're not going to watch TV. We're going to go outside. We're going to play all the time. We're going to do all these things. But then you have kids, life happens. You have to stay at work a little longer. You have to do some work from home. Maybe it's bad weather out, or all of these things. Maybe you're just, worn down from work, which is just a terrible feeling. But when you get home and you're with your kids, sometimes you do have them watch some television, but the good thing is that there's so many shows out there that they can watch that are educational and not just flashing lights and colors and shapes and all of this, things that they can, even if they don't realize it or you don't realize it, they are learning something from these shows.
Yeah, they really are. And my whole position is just staying as an engaged parent. Because as I said before, parent is more than a noun. Parent is a verb. You have to actually parent your children. And you do have to understand that life will intervene. Life happens. I would have never thought that I would be a single mom with two young girls, very impressionable young girls by myself. And I had a job as an educator at a university. And just like you said, you're working those different kind of hours. Part of my responsibility with my position was that I ran a tutoring program 3 nights a week. That meant that my daughters had to stay extended time at daycare, and then they had to go to someone else for the rest of the evening until I could pick them up, in the late hours. Same thing like before and after school. I had to make those kinds of adjustments. And as a parent, I think one of the things I learned early on that was so helpful, I come from a family of educators, so this may have lent itself to this, but I would always make sure, like in back of the car, there was always some books there. In my girls' era, it was Game Boy. That shows you how long ago that was. They would have the Game Boy in the car, with the Super Mario Brothers and Miss Pac-Man and all those kinds of things.
Oh, that's what I was playing in the back of the car too.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We found a Game Boy like a whole year later under one of the car seats. I'll never forget that. Yeah. They had the Super Nintendo. And so I had to really forgive myself that I had a job that required me to work those extended hours in the evening. And also every single spring break and during the summer, I had to travel with my students. So that meant every single spring break, I was away from my own children. But I knew that whoever I left them with, my village, and so that's why I'm segueing into that. My village had the same set of core values that I had around how I was going to raise and influence my children. And so that meant that they would help me by taking them to the museums, to the zoos, and all those kinds of things. Give yourself a break from all of the other responsibilities you have to make sure you are doing enough of that quality time with your kids. Most of us, we did not live the Leave It to Beaver life where you came home, mom standing there with high heels and pearls on. It's not that kind of existence. Most of us don't have that now, especially a household where two parents are working and you have other obligations, but you do have the control over who is being exposed, your children are being exposed to, and the kinds of things that they're sharing with your children. And just give yourself the grace behind that and saying that it's okay if I don't read every single night, but do try to read as much as you can with your children. And not only are you reading and learning that story, my girls can still tell you some of their favorite books. And now my daughter is sharing those very same books with her girls, just small things like that. And as you said, some of the shows that were really educational, it was nothing better invented than Sesame Street.
Oh, yes.
You
Love
know,
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street, you mentioned the Magic Bus, Rico. Oh, you know, all those kinds of things, they still work
Mhm.
and they are really good. And Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Oh my God, my girls love that whole kind of thing. And so, you know, being selective and finding those kinds of tools, all of those things is still on Amazon. I don't
Yep.
shop on Amazon, but my daughter, she can pull anything out of Amazon. And I will say one of the things that she ordered not too long ago for my grandson was the ACT prep.
Oh,
So he's doing the online for the ACT prep. So, you know, that's what's consistent with his age group. And so my granddaughter, there's online Barbie app. Oh my
okay.
God. And Barbie builds her house. She's doing everything, you know,
Wow.
and it's all those little different kind of Barbie scenarios,
Mhm.
you know, the Barbie the astronaut, Barbie the dentist,
Yep.
and all of that.
She's
And
got a bunch of different jobs.
yeah,
She's a Renaissance woman.
Barbie truly is. She is. And so my granddaughter, she loves those kinds of things. And embedded in there, not only is it fun, but you know, as a parent, embedded in there is that kind of learning. You know, it offers the STEM learning, it offers the creativity, it offers the arts. And, you know, they're building up their reading skills, they're building up, you know, learning sight words, going
Mhm.
beyond that, putting sentences together, and all of that. So just recognizing that, you know, there's a whole lot of cons, as we would say, you know, and trying to raise your children and make sure you're doing everything that is efficient and you want to be a perfect parent. But there's a lot of pros to it as well. And I just think when you know that that is your number one job and you are allowing yourself the grace to just do it and sometimes make some missteps. Because I remember it was about a year ago, one of my daughters was talking to me about when she was growing up. And I told her, I'm so sorry. I said, I was terrible as a parent. And she said, Mommy, no, you weren't. And I said, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. And she said, Mom, that was probably one of the best things you could ever say. She said, I thought you were going to get defensive and say all kinds of things because I know I was strict too and I was trying to control. But, you know, I was trying to, you know, keep them safe.
Mhm.
You know, and I was trying to really control what they learned and how they learned it, all of that. But like again, I said, I had a village that was really great between my own individual family and my friends and, you know, who I selected them to be around my church. And I think when you look around and see who's your core that you are exposing your children to and having them involved, it just really works out. It
It
comes together.
it really does. It really does. And a part of you were mentioning the books and the shows, and
Mhm.
for me and my wife, it's we try to pick shows that have some sort of educational value to it,
Yes.
or picking movies or shows that we can turn into something
Yes.
educational. So the movie Inside Out is a great movie for teaching kids, you know, how to or what kind of emotions they are feeling or what's going on
Okay.
inside their head. So, you know, with the first one and the second one, it's been really helpful in discussing with our two young children about, you know, how are you feeling? Is it joy? Is it anger?
Yes.
Is it sadness? Is it, you know, what exactly is going on right now? Like, who do you feel? And we have
Yes.
the little picture with all of them on there, and they'll kind of point to it there. And then, you know,
Mhm.
you mentioned Sesame Street and the Magic School Bus, which, by the way, for anybody who's watching this and you're looking for the Magic School Bus, it's on Tubi. It's free, so you can watch it on there. It's great. It's a couple episodes, but it's, again, educational. It's fun. You'll
Right.
probably sit and watch it with your kids, because I know I did. I just sat and watched. I go, oh, I remember this
You
episode.
remember that?
Yeah, I'm like, I remember this one growing up. I know exactly what's gonna happen. So, no, and having those shows where, again, the kids might not know that they're learning, but they're
Right.
learning something. They're
They
learning
are.
about reptiles, or learning about the blood system, or their bloodstream and everything on
Mhm.
the internal organs, and like all of these
Mhm.
things. And, you know, with the books, we try to read to our kids every night. We have a few books that they really like. And now both of them say, oh, I'm gonna read it. And neither one of
Oh,
them know
that's
how to
good.
read yet. They're still learning, but they're like, oh, I'm gonna read it. And I go, okay. And I hand them the book and I go, okay, read it to me. And there have been a few times where my daughter just goes, oh wait, I don't know how to read. And she'll hand it back to me. But there's some where they look at the pictures and they make up their
Right.
own story, which
Yes.
is great for, you know,
That is
imagination
great.
and working their brains, and you know,
Mhm.
kind of tiring them out a little bit before bed. So
Mhm.
it's, and like you said, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes as a parent.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
It's
natural,
okay.
but you're doing a great job. No matter
Mhm.
how your kids are here, they're learning, they're doing all these things. You're doing a great job as a parent.
Yeah. And when your kids see the both of you on the same page, I think that's a big way that they understand, our family is really cool. You want to hear that all the time. I remember the first time one of my daughters said, I don't really like you. Oh God,
It hurts.
It hurt. It hurt. But that comes with the territory. And it's okay. And even if you have a situation where both parents are not in the home together, if you're co-parenting, really try to build that kind of relationship and still be on the same page so that you are helping to build those positive images for your daughters and sons as well. So, yeah.
Karen, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
This has been a great show.
I appreciate it, Rico.
This has been fun. This has been a really good one. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you here on the YWCA Hour.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And if you're looking for the YWCA, ywcalincoln.org, 5631 South 48th Street, Suite 410.
There you go. Go over there, get yourself some more knowledge and learn about all these things that we just discussed with you. Talk to some wonderful people who work there. Go online and again, learn you a little something. This has been the YWCA Hour here on 93.7 The Ticket. With that, we leave you. Have a wonderful day.